Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is John Campea, and this is a companion video. What are companion videos? Well, I'm awfully glad that you asked. See, every day on the John Campea Show, Monday through Friday, we take the second half of the show to take your live questions. However, we don't always have enough time to get through. Well, we usually don't have enough time to get through all the live questions that get sent in. But I want to make sure you guys don't have to wait too awful long to get those questions answered. So we gather them up and we address them here on companion videos. And joining me today to help us get through all these questions is Kimberly Curran. Kimberly, how you doing?
Hey guys, I'm doing good.
It was good to see you yesterday.
Yes, it was. And I have to tell you, my abs, or what's left of my abs from my 20s, are in so much pain. I laughed so much yesterday, more than I have in the past 14 months.
Oh, that's good.
Meeting Robert Meyer Burnett and Elizabeth.
Because you've never met him in person.
I never met him in person, and I was so excited to meet him. I was in stitches. My face hurt from laughing. We were just cutting it up. It was so much fun.
He's a good guy to be around, and I've never seen you in my backyard. I mean,
I know, it's so funny. I always
right
walk past it, and I was like, "Oh yeah," and it looks amazing. I love it.
Well, it's good to have you here, and it's good to have you guys here with us right now as we're getting through all these great topics and fun topics of conversation that you guys have sent in. So let's not waste any time and get right to it. Kimberly, what is up first?
All right. This is from Jay Wentz. He says, "Hey, John and Rob, have either one of you seen Lupin on Netflix? Omar Sy stars and S2 comes out this Friday. It's like a Sherlock show if he was a charming black French thief. Always a step ahead. Highly recommend if y'all haven't seen it."
I watched the trailer for it. Actually, Netflix put out a big trailer and a big preview of season 2. I never even heard of the show. So not only have I not seen season 1, I've never even heard of season 1 or I've even heard of the show. And I was thrown, I'm like, what's wrong with this? And it's like, oh yeah, it was being dubbed because I guess it's actually done in French.
Yes.
But I've never seen the original season, although the trailer for season 2 looked really interesting. Have you watched the show?
It's so good. I've watched the show. I'm excited for season 2. It's really good. And you know what? You get past the that it's dubbed, pretty quickly because it does kind of throw you off a little, it's got that little delay.
Right.
But it's almost like a Ocean's 11 kind of feel, but it's one guy. And so it's super cool. And I really like him. I really like Omar Sy. He's making a big name for himself. I like him. The
trailer looked really good, so I might have to check out the first season.
Real charismatic guy, yeah.
All right, what's next?
Wiley Todd says, "Hey, John, have you seen the movie Never Back Down, 2008? I know it's bad, but it's a great watch, great guilty pleasure. And I got to admit, Baywatch 2017 with Rock and Efron is also one of my favorite guilty pleasures."
All right. Well, first of all, let's do some real talk here. The Baywatch movie was awful. This is how bad that Baywatch movie was. Christian Harloff and I went to go watch it. I believe it was at Paramount's lot. And so we went to Paramount Studios, went on the lot to watch this special screening of it. And in comes walking a buddy of mine who actually works for Paramount.
Okay.
It's like, "Oh, glad you guys made it to this." I'm like, yeah. And then he sat down, not beside us, but there's an aisle in the theater. And then he sat on the chair right across from us. And I swear to God, if my friend who worked for Paramount was not sitting in that seat right across the aisle, I would have left. And I've only walked out of like 4 movies in my entire life, maybe 3. And I would have walked out of Baywatch.
Oh, no.
It's that bad. I mean, it's horrible. And I thought the trailers were
Was it self-aware bad?
No, it was just bad.
Or was it? Because I saw it, and
I mean, it's a comedy.
I don't remember it very well. I remember Priyanka Chopra. That was kind of one of her big.
That's a self-defense mechanism of your mind kicking in, not letting yourself remember it. It's so. And I love Zac Efron, and I love Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, and I thought the trailers looked awesome. The movie's so bad. Anyway, getting to Never Back Down, though. Never Back Down isn't bad. Mm-hmm. It isn't bad. And I remember it caught my attention because back in 2008, it was one of the first MMA movies to come out. And it had one of my favorite actors, Jaimon Hansu, in it, so I love him. It had who would become, Kick-Ass's sidekick and Quicksilver in the Fox X-Men universe, Evan Peters, and it had Amber Heard, and It's not bad, but it's
I need
not
to check that
great.
out.
You should check it out.
I need to check it out.
I don't think it's bad. I think it's actually okay.
Yeah.
But it was also very early in the days of people people who didn't understand MMA trying to make a movie about MMA in some way, shape, or form. So it's not bad, but it is what it is. All right,
Nice.
what's next?
This is coming from Preston, the Kryptonian. Hey, John. So this month marks the 50th anniversary of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate
Wow.
Factory. Unbelievable how old that movie is. Also wanted to wish a happy birthday to my mom. Thanks for all you do, John.
Well, first of all, good on you for wishing your mom a happy birthday. That's good. Every once in a while, a movie celebrates an anniversary and you go, that movie's 20 years old, right? But then sometimes movies hit anniversaries and you're like, yeah, that movie. I mean,
Yeah.
again, Willy Wonka was out before I was born. So it's like, yeah, that movie, any movie that comes out before I was born, it all feels really old, right? I think we all feel that way. Any movie that came out before we were born just feels really old. So I'm not surprised to hear that. But a tremendously important, iconic movie that everybody knows about. So happy birthday to Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. All right, what's next?
SJ says, hi, John. My friend asked me an interesting question, so I'll put it to you. With LeBron at a low moment after losing first round of playoffs, will this have negative effect on the Space Jam box office? It would be positive if a film made finals / won a ring.
No, it wouldn't have. Somebody asked me this identical question a few days ago, and I said the exact same thing. It would have made no difference. LeBron and the Lakers could have won the championship this year. I don't think it would have helped Space Jam whatsoever. And don't forget, they just won the NBA title. I mean, they're currently, as of right now, they're still the defending champions, even though they're out of the thing. So even if they won the title, I don't think it would have helped it. The Lakers could have not made the playoffs, and I don't think it would hurt it. It is what it is. LeBron is now LeBron. It doesn't matter. His legacy is set. And the reality is, anybody who follows basketball knows that, Anthony Davis was basically a non-factor. LeBron was playing in the playoffs with a high ankle sprain. Everybody knows all this. So yeah, had they won a ring, wouldn't have made a difference. Had they not made the playoffs, it wouldn't have made a difference. That movie's going to do what it's going to do. And I think it's going to flop. I thought it was going to flop from day one. And I'm a huge LeBron fan. I'm a big LeBron fan, but I think this movie's going to flop. I have zero interest in it whatsoever. I thought the trailer was terrible.
Well, were you excited when Space Jam was coming out back in the 90s? Were you like, oh, this is going to flop, or I'm excited to see Michael Jordan, or...
I wasn't excited to see Michael Jordan. I thought it was novel. Yeah. Because really, there's only so many movies that are of that ilk, right? Like you got Who Framed Roger Rabbit and things like that. And so when the first Space Jam came out, there was an incredible... The word novelty has a bad rap and has like negative connotations to it, but really, no, it had a really great novelty to it. And so, yeah, I was very much looking forward to that when it came out. I mean, I don't hold that original movie as a special place in my heart like some people do. It's like, I remember Space Jam.
Are like,
yeah. But some people
it's like so special to, it's like a part of their childhood.
Yep. And they love it. And I always liked it, but I never had it like as a special place in my heart. So when they said they were doing another one, I thought this is pointless and about 15 years too late. Now, granted, we haven't had another Michael Jordan until now in LeBron James, so I get that. But no, I thought the trailer was bad. I really don't think this is going to do well. I really don't. Yeah. And it doesn't matter whether they won the title this year or last year, or they didn't make the playoffs or got knocked out. It doesn't matter. I don't think it's going to do well. I could be wrong. I mean, I don't know. I'm just taking a guess, but we'll see. We'll see. All right. What's next?
This is coming from HV3. John, have you read or listened to Seth Rogen's new autobiography yearbook? I highly recommend, especially on Audible. Great production and very good story about his life. The encounter he has with other celebrities is hilarious.
So I have listened to some of this because Anne got it.
Oh, she did?
And Anne listened to the whole thing. And she was like, you got to listen to some of this as we were making our drive to LA. And it's about a 45-minute to an hour drive. So I was listening to a part that he was telling a story about when he was like a Boy Scout. And a part of like some kind of Boy Scout thing in Canada, because he's Canadian.
Yeah.
And their troop got like lost in the wilderness during a heavy rainstorm, and one of their counselors had broken an ankle, and they were in real trouble and real danger.
Sounds like Troop Beverly Hills.
Yeah, and they got saved, and it was really good. And he does something interesting with the book in that when he's reading, like when there's our camp counselor Cynthia, she was freaked out and she said, instead of saying what she would say, he got a female actress, a voice actress, to read the lines.
Oh, I like that.
So it was almost like when he was telling the stories, it was almost like a little bit of a radio production. So it's good. So I haven't heard the whole thing, but what I listened to was really funny. A good, again, Seth Rogen, good Canadian kid, talking about stories about growing up in Vancouver area and stuff like that.
I want to listen to this. I love like actor like or entertainer like autobiographies, like Rob Lowe, stories I only tell my friends. He's such a great writer. He's such a great storyteller. But like people that we like and we love to watch them, like when they let us in and tell us their stories. Because I listened to his podcast on Armchair Expert with Dax Shepard.
Right.
Seth Rogen was on and telling stories about like how he lived by himself, like when he was a kid or something weird like that. But I was so intrigued. So I'm like really excited to
There's two I highly
get
recommend.
into this.
Two that I highly recommend. One is, I can't remember the name of it, but it's Joe Coy's, the comedian Joe
Coy.
He just has one out.
He's getting his own show.
Amazing. Mine and Anne's favorite story that he tells. Because for those of you who don't know, my wife Anne is Asian. And he was telling this story about how when he was a kid, his mom started dating an American white guy. And this guy is like, Joe Coy considers this guy his true father.
Mm-hmm.
Like, apparently they have a wonderful relationship. But he says, now, of course, Joe Coy is Filipino, which is one of the reasons why Anne and her family love, because Anne is Filipino as well. But this is my favorite story in it. He says, and I can't remember what his stepdad's name is. Let's just call him Ron,
okay,
for argument's sake. He said, one day when I was like 13, Ron said to me, you know why I love your mom so much? Because I love Chinese food. And I said, Ron, she's Filipino, not Chinese. And Ron looked at me and smiled and said, rice is rice. And now, when Ann and I, Ann and I just about died. We just about died. Rice is rice. And Ann and I just about died when he said that line. And now every once in a while, whenever either of us, Ann or I, the last couple of weeks, whenever either of us have the slightest misunderstanding about what the other said, like some confusion or something, one of us will just go, rice is rice. And we'll just, but that's one. So the Joe Coy one is really funny, but very insightful. The other one, which is fantastic, Amy Poehler.
I was
Yes,
just
please.
going to say
it's called Yes, Please. It's so
she does that with voices too. She'll have, but like her mom, she's like, my mom in the 1950s was this. Amy, that's not how things work. And so her parents will come in with their non-actor voices. And it's just, first of all, she's a boss.
Yeah, she is.
I don't want to say bitch because it's demeaning. She's a boss. And just.
It's not demeaning the way you were going to say it.
She's a boss bitch.
Yes, she is.
But I love her book.
Yeah. And it was really interesting because she tells her story too about her relationship with Will Arnett. And, you know, them going when they went through divorce, but we're still like really supportive of each other after the divorce. It's like, so it's very insightful, but inspiring and funny at the same time. She's vulnerable in it. It's those types of qualities that make it. Most actor biographies, I really don't give a shit about, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But it's the ones that do the things like what Joe Coy's book does and what Amy Poehler's book does that really make you feel like you get invested in who they are. So so there's a couple ones to keep in mind.
Super
all right,
relatable.
What's next?
All right. Still coming from HV3. In Yearbook, Seth reveals that he has been trying to get the rights for The Last Starfighter since he started making movies, but the owner of the rights refuses to sell. Hopefully, he will change his mind at some point. I would love to see a remake.
Well, listen, there has been a lot of talk recently about like the original director and stuff like that. They've got storyboards for a new Last Starfighter. And they are trying to get this thing pulled together. Now, listen, Seth Rogen, good Canadian kid. Obviously, I love the stuff that he's been producing. I don't know, as great as the stuff he's been producing is, like The Boys and Invincible and whatever, I don't know that his sensibilities are the right sensibilities as a fit for The Last Starfighter. And because I love The Last Starfighter. And I don't know that, and I love him, but I don't know that his are the right sensibilities for it. Anyway, at some point, I do hope they get another one made because I've been waiting for that for a long time. All right, what's next?
Nosferatu says, the Toronto Maple Leafs just recalled their toy line because of a choking hazard.
Really? That's a week old. You're a little late on that, Nosferatu. Little late on that one. All right, what's next?
Luke1234 says, would you rather have a Star Wars trilogy directed by Spielberg, produced by Feige, starring Daniel Day-Lewis and Russell Crowe, or the Maple Leafs win the Stanley Cup and you have tickets behind the Leafs penalty box?
That's easy. I've had lots of Star Wars movies in my life. I've had lots of Steven Spielberg movies in my life. I've had lots of Kevin Feige movies in my life. I've had lots of Russell Crowe movies in my life. Got them all. The Toronto Maple Leafs have never been to the Stanley Cup Finals in my entire lifetime. As long as I've been alive, they've never been there. It would be literally a once-in-a-lifetime thing. So yes, if the movie gods came to me, if the movie gods and the sports gods came to me together, say, hey, we formed a partnership. We're going to grant you one wish. You can get this thing with this Star Wars movie, or you get the Toronto Maple Leafs winning the Stanley Cup. It's going to be something that very well may never happen in my lifetime. A Stanley Cup. We'll get more Star Wars movies. I'll get more Steven Spielberg movies. I'll get more Russell Crowe movies. I'll get more Kevin Feige movies. But the Toronto Maple Leafs winning the Stanley Cup would have been a once in a lifetime, so that's what I would pick. All right, what's next?
The Image Wizard says, I love being back at the movies. I have been going to the theaters regularly since 1980 when I was in high school. Only once have I had a problem with people being noisy, and once where the theater had camera or power problems. I must be blessed.
Yeah, this has come up a bunch in the last little while about, how often do you really encounter a significant, like to the point that it ruins the movie for you problem in a movie theater. And, I've been saying lately that honestly, not often. I mean, maybe once out of every 15 to 20 times that I go to the theater. Like, look, obviously many movies, there'll be a couple people whispering to each other during the movie and I can hear it, whatever. Every once in a while, a baby will start crying for a bit, but the parent takes them out or they settle down, whatever. But honestly, like to the point where somebody's answering their phone, and that they're talking during the theater. Or this one time when I saw this Jim Carrey movie, I think it's called The Number 23, where me and my buddy,
that dark one with Maria Bello or something.
Not good. But we had these 4 teenage girls behind us that would not shut the F up. Just blah, blah. Even I thought my friend was going to hit one. My friend literally, shut up, you stupid, blah, 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 blah. Just because they were awful, really, really awful.
Oh my gosh.
But that stuff, like I said, maybe 2.5% of the time, once out of every 15, once out of every 20 times, I found it very rare. And Rob has said the same thing, very rare for him. You're saying the same thing, Image Wizard. Now we all have different experiences.
Yeah.
Just because that's been our experience doesn't mean it'd be yours. But I find it really doesn't happen that often. What about you? What's your experience has been like?
I only had one experience that was scary where some guy, it was right at the beginning, when they started assigning seats.
Yes, which is awesome.
Which I love. And some guy was confused and it was at Godzilla, King of the Monster. No, yeah.
Godzilla King of the Monsters?
Yeah. And it was a packed theater, it was the first day. And so big guy, he had to be 6'6", big dude, huge. And he starts yelling, who's seated in seat 10? And I'm like, well, each row has a seat 10, ding dong.
Right.
But he starts yelling and it's a packed theater. And me and my dad just looked at me like, is something going to go down? Like what? And then he starts cussing people out. But that was a one-off. And I wasn't going to stop going to the movies. But I will say, if you're going to see a Marvel movie and you're a super fan, like me, it's important to go with the right crowd.
True. Because
I did get shushed at Endgame when I went, no! And someone shushed me. And I was like, for real?
No.
Oh, you're not going to make it through the rest of these 3 hours if you're going to have a problem with that.
No, and look, I'll tell you what, in any movie, I've talked to some people, it's like, oh, this one lady wouldn't stop laughing. I'm like, you were watching Wedding Crashers. What do you, these movies are experiential events. You don't want people talking on the phone. You want people having rough, ongoing conversations with each other. I get that.
Yeah.
But you're going to an experiential event. You gotta give leeway to the idea of a horror movie. If somebody goes,
if it's Titanic and someone won't stop laughing, that's odd.
Oh yes, or Schindler's List, and they won't stop laughing.
That's a bit odd.
Funny? I get emails all the time from our friends in the UK who say
what's their experience
like? It's a totally different experience for you guys in the US and the UK. We don't have outward reactions to movies
Really?
in the UK. I'm like, really? Like, that just seems odd.
Is it impolite?
I was probably considered impolite or something like that. But for me, like, if you're at a football game, the team scores, you cheer. If you're in a comedy, if there's a funny joke, you laugh. If there's a horror and something happens, you scream. If it's an action film, you gasp or cheer. I mean, it's just...
They don't. I mean, because like sad movies, I have been in theaters where I'm crying, and thank goodness I can hear the sniffles, and I'm like, good, because I am gonna lose it. Like everyone else is crying too.
Oh, geez.
And I like that feeling of togetherness, but
Yes.
they don't do that in the UK.
That's the magic of the movies to me.
Really?
I remember I watched, the first time I watched Life is Beautiful, the Roberto Benigni film. And I literally, like without exaggeration, I was in a theater and there were a whole bunch of bikers in the theater. And when that movie got towards its end,
Getting
all
the
you
cry
heard is
on.
like the whole theater, bikers and all. I mean, and that's great. That's the
That's
magic
the beauty
of the movie.
of films is we're
I
all
agree.
feeling the same thing right now, but I
All
am
right.
not feeling your bright screen while I'm watching a film. So don't do that.
All right, what's next?
Paul Star Guy says, and this is one of 3. Just saw A Quiet Place Part 2. Saw first movie last Saturday on FX. Liked both movies. Tension is set up really well, and they're both very well done. They're both done very well. Main question, why are the aliens here? Possible answer, at the beginning of 2, day 1, where we see something fiery coming through the atmosphere, maybe a mothership exploded. Creatures may have been shock troops, similar to TNT Falling Skies, now on HBO Max, or captives who threw their captors. Creatures' thinking seems more animal instinct than human. Now they're unorganized, running amok, trying to survive.
Ultimately, the answer for me is it doesn't matter. I really don't care. I don't care why the aliens are there. And I think that's key because to the people on the ground, that's not important. To the people on the ground, it's this terrifying thing is happening. They're just trying to survive.
Just trying to survive. You know what it reminded me of is like Train to Busan.
Right.
It's not about the zombies at all. It's about all of those relationships. And was it intense? Was it like, I'm scared out of my mind, this claustrophobic situation, and now we're getting off the train? Like, yeah, like they hit the nail on the head with fear and intensity. But at the end of the day, it was about these relationships and the father-daughter relationship and a husband and his wife and their new baby. And like, you know, it was more about the heart. So I'm right there with you. I totally agree.
My only theory I have is that when you look at what happened in Quiet Place 2, they looked up and they clearly saw this giant thing, almost like a meteor falling to Earth.
Yeah.
My one theory is whatever planet they're from exploded. And they, like cockroaches, can just survive. They can just survive space. That doesn't hurt them. And their thing crashes on Earth. Great. And now they're infesting Earth. But I mean, honestly, at the end of the day, I don't care. I don't care if they never answer that question because you know there's going to be Quiet Place 3, and I don't really care. I almost don't want them to answer the question because it's not the important thing. So, don't know. All I know is that those movies are awesome. I really love them. All right, what's next?
Ryan G says, "Hi, John. Sorry for putting you on the spot with my 1994 movie question. Thank you for your recommendation for True Lies. I'll watch it soon after I'm finished with watching the Fast and the Furious franchise from start to finish."
Yeah, so somebody asked me, John, you can't say Lion King. What's your favorite movie in 1994? And I'm like, do I look like Scott Mance? I don't know what movies came out in 1994. Like, I remember True Lies, and I said a couple of others. Not
Do
even
it for your country.
Yeah, not even sure what movies are. We're talking what? We are talking 28 years ago or something like that. Is that 94, 28 years ago?
Sure.
I don't know. I don't remember what comes out. But that's fine. I don't mind that you asked. I'm just saying, I hope you don't mind that. It's like, I don't walk around with a Rolodex of movie dates in my head. So I'm sure I even mentioned some of the ones I mentioned were probably wrong. So, but no problem. And yes, True Lies. It is my all-time favorite action film. Number one all-time favorite action film. The late great Bill Paxton, obviously Arnold Schwarzenegger, who is terrific in it. Tom Arnold, who has never been funny in anything
So
ever,
good in that.
is so good in True Lies. You know what she stole the money for? An abortion. I mean, I just about die. And then, of course, the one who plays his wife from
Jamie
Halloween.
Lee Curtis.
Jamie Lee Curtis. And to me, other people say Halloween. That's fine. You take that garbage. to me, the quintessential Jamie Lee Curtis performance. The scene where she's dancing for
He's
him.
dancing in the dark, and then he drops the recorder. And he's
Oh
like,
my God. Yes, do it slowly. It's so good. And then Tia Carrera, that's when like she became like my celebrity crush for like a year after that. It's like, oh my God, it's so good. True Lies, go watch it. All right, what's next?
Skylar Hillman says, greetings, John and Co. With all the hype and buzz surrounding NWH, do you think all of it is going to be another Hugh Jackman and Endgame type of scenario? I need another, you'll get your rent when you fix this damn door scene. Bully McGuire.
I'll be straight up with you. I don't know what NWH is. I keep asking you guys, please don't send in just acronyms, because if I don't know it off the top of my head, I'm not going to waste everybody else's time trying to figure out what it is. So anyway, so we'll just have to, sorry about that, Skylar, but I don't know what NWH is. All right, what's next?
My Comic Planet says, John, all I have to say is you're welcome. I think I was the last person to recommend you to watch Warrior. I told you it was great, didn't I? LOL, I'm praying there will be a season 3. Could you go into more detail on what you love so much about the show?
Yeah, so I recently started watching the CinemaCon show that is now on HBO Max called Warrior. And they just recently announced they're going to do a season 3, which Dennis Zen and I were talking about it last night. We were so freaked out. We're so excited about it. I was obviously very late to the party. I started watching it a couple nights ago. I watched all 2 seasons in 3 days. I just couldn't stop. I stayed up to 4:30 in the morning one night to finish it off. Like I couldn't stop watching it. It's so good. To me, the best way I know to put it, it's a mix between Into the Badlands with Game of Thrones. But one of the things that I love about it, even though it's set in like 1876 or something like that, it feels very relevant to today. And I won't go into political stuff, but there is some very disturbingly familiar thematic things going on in that show to what we deal with today. And so it's that mix. It's that mix of it's the best martial arts I've ever seen in a TV show, because you got Storm Shadow and Sub-Zero fighting in it. So that's good enough for me right there. So you got the best martial arts I've ever seen in a TV show. Yes, even better than Into the Badlands. And then you've got all the interpersonal political stuff and intrigue and espionage and betrayal going on that you get in like a Game of Thrones. And I'm not saying this show is as good as Game of Thrones. I'm just saying it makes it incredibly wonderful. The characters are complex. Even the ones that you don't think are going to end up being much, like there's this character named Chow in it, who by the time season 2 ends, I'm like, this dude is like one of my favorite characters in the show now. Even though the way it starts, you don't really think he's going to be important to the show at all. Choi, there's this character, this woman who runs this Chinese brothel house. You think, okay, she's going to be this little side character that pops in now and again, but she's got this incredibly rich, deep story. Obviously, Assam, the main character, they drive him great. Young June, Father June. I mean, it's just amazing the way they go into character depth and detail. The action is nonstop, but it's not just action. It's got tremendous characters and story to go along with it. And everything. Have you watched Warrior at all?
Yeah.
Oh, you have?
Yeah.
What do you think about Warrior?
Oh, the martial arts for TV. I mean, because for TV, sometimes you'll have some scenes that are like, that was a good fight scene. They're on point. I'm like, damn.
Yeah,
every single fight scene's on point.
Some of my favorite fight scenes is Young June, who all he does is fight with knives. That's all he does. There's even a part in the show where Assam says to him, you should learn to fight just with your fists. He goes, what's the fun in that? And he's just slicing everybody up. I mean, I was talking to Ann and I were talking like, there are so many racial terms I have never heard of before. White dudes are ducks. I've never heard that. I have never heard that phrase before. Sex is sticky. Let's go get some sticky. I'm like, what the hell is sticky? Was he going to get like honey or something? I had no idea what they're talking about. Onions. Never heard that as a phrase for people. Like an onion? Coolie. I'd never heard that before.
It's weird.
What do they call the cops again? Bulls.
Yeah.
I was like, I've never heard that as a slang before. So I'm learning a whole new language at the same time. I love this show. All right, what's next?
My Comic Planet has one of two. John, I have another great show to recommend. It's called Mr. InBetween on Hulu. It's about a hitman debt collector in Australia who lives an everyday life. It has Breaking Bad vibes, but also with that dry Australian humor. What's also impressive is the main character, Ray, played brilliantly by actor Scott Ryan, is also the creator. Just like I told you Warrior would be great, this is amazing, and the episodes are only 30 minutes long, so easy to digest. Must watch.
You know, I've never seen Mr. InBetween, but I see them playing previews for it all the time. And it's totally got that exact vibe. The vibe I was getting from Comic Planet was the exact way you describe it. And I also, you know, the fact that the main character's name is Ray, it's funny that it is, because I also get Ray Donovan vibes from it, which was a show I used to really like. So yeah, this is one I'm going to have on my queue. At some point I'm going to start watching because it looks quite good. All right, what's next?
I started it. It's good.
Nice.
Brian Solis says, to the gruesome twosome, John and Rob, I saw F9 and to quote Coach, fucking embarrassing. People talk about embracing the ridiculous. Does Vin Diesel realize they're ridiculous? In this interview, he speaks as if he is cinema. Delusion is a hell of a thing.
I can't begin to tell you how bad I think Fast 9 is.
Brian, delusion is a hell of a thing.
Because I
wanted to see it. I was so excited.
It's coming. Well, listen, it might be for you. It might work. Like, just because it doesn't work for me or Rob or anybody I know who's seen it, just because it didn't work for us, doesn't mean it's not going to work for you. I mean, as a matter of fact, give me one quick second here. If I look up F9 on Rotten Tomatoes, I think it was around 65% the last time I looked. So on Rotten Tomatoes right now, it's got, well, with only 26 reviews right now, it's got a 69%, which is good. That means the majority of the critics are delusional and like it. No, it's all subjective. I thought it was absolute garbage. And that is coming from a guy who really loves F4, F5, F6, F7, and I even like F8. And part of the reason I love them is because they do embrace the ridiculousness. But there comes a point when it's so much, too much.
A dinosaur picks him up.
They're half a breath away from that. I wouldn't be surprised. They are half a breath away from that.
I'm scared because aren't they making it now?
They are doing 10. Yes.
Someone said they're doing an 11. They're stopping at 10, right?
They say they're stopping at 10, but then again, it all depends. Like, we know they're doing another Hobbs and Shaw movie, and we know they're doing so who knows when they'll stop. Here's what I think. F9 is going to make a lot of money because everybody's been very excited to watch it.
Yeah.
Then if they do F10, I think it's take a big dip at the box office because I think a lot of people are going to feel burned by F9. It's really horrible. And listen, I also say this as I don't know if you know this, I'm a big Vin Diesel fan.
I know.
I really like Vin Diesel a lot. And I was excited about this movie, and I think this is the worst Fast and Furious movie.
I swear if I see a T-Rex claw just come out.
No, don't worry. You're not going to see this one. You're not far away from it. All right. What's next?
BK Dan says, John, want to recommend a book for Rob. Star Trek Q Continuum. John Lancey, who plays Q, did a lot of consulting for the character in the book. Ties together the barriers at the center of the galaxy at the edge. Half of the galaxy. Here's two. Also explains the original series character of Trelane. Also ties in a lot of original series and Next Generation through the eyes of Q. He'll love it. Lots of fun. Tell him he can find on Amazon to buy.
Well, here's the thing, BK Dan. I mean, who are we kidding? Rob has read this book. I mean, who are we kidding? I mean, Rob's not here for me to ask him this question, but who are we kidding? If it's a Star Trek book, he's read it. I doubt there's a Star Trek book in existence that he hasn't read. So I'm sure if he was here, he would give some commentary on it, but I don't think there's anything to worry about, BK. I'm pretty sure he's probably read that. But thanks for putting that on everybody else's radar who might be interested in it. All right, what's next?
BK Dan says, John, have you seen the classic anime Vampire Hunter D from 1985? It can be found on YouTube for free with ads, English dubbed and Japanese originally.
This is going to surprise you, but yes, I have seen this. A buddy of mine back in Canada, the guy who was actually one of my original co-hosts on my very first, we were the first movie podcast in the world. It was the Movie Blog Audio Edition. His name's Darren Connolly. And Darren Connolly loved this. And so one day when I was over hanging out at his house, he's like, okay, you got to watch. We're going to sit down and watch this. And he played for it. And it's actually pretty good. Yeah. And I'm not even a big anime guy, like at all. But that one is actually pretty good. So I have Darren Connolly to thank for putting that one on my radar. All right. What's next?
The Sock says, I just started watching Warrior, only one episode. Only on episode 2, sorry. And I'm already in love with it. But HBO, you better fix this piece of shit you call a scrub bar. I tried to navigate to certain timestamp and it took me back to the beginning every fucking time.
You know what's funny? I am hearing a number of, okay, first of all, HBO Max is a terrific streaming service. I really like having this service. But while I have personally not had any technical issues, I have been hearing from a number of people, like a bunch of people having this mystery scrolling bar on the side that nobody knows why it's there or how to get rid of it. I've never had that problem, but a bunch of people have. I've heard a couple people mentioning their scrubbing has been really problematic, that whenever they try to jump forward or scrub back, there's been problematic. Again, I have not had that problem, but I'm hearing a number of people. You've had some issues with HBO Max, haven't you?
This past week, I'd never, because I heard people talk about that and I never saw it. And then this past week, I'm like, what is this? And I was so freaking frustrated. And then I was doing something and I forgot to press pause. And so when I went back to move it, took me forever to get back to where I was. And I started thinking it was my internet and and then I was like, oh yeah, it's just HBO Max. It's really starting to frustrate me. So yeah, I feel you suck.
I hope they fix that up because it's a very good service. And it would suck if they really start to turn a lot of people off due to like technical issues like that. Yeah. All right. What's next?
And the Sock says, and yes, this is a problem exclusive to HBO. I've had no problems with Netflix or Amazon, but HBO, like every other time, does this shit. I hate watching stuff on my phone. So if it happens again, I'll watch something else because my mind will melt in frustration.
Again, it's always sucks when an experience that's supposed to be great and fun gets soured because of some outside external issue like that. So I really do hope they get that. Feel your pain, Sock. I feel your pain. I hope they get that fixed up. All right, what's next?
BK Dan says, John, LOL time. Fast and Furious and Star Wars crossed over. They say justice for Han. I say why? Because Han shot first. Just had to. By the way, BOTF.
Bring on the filthy. And BK, I'm not going to lie to you, brother. I've had about 4 other people write in that same joke before. So, I mean, just being real with you, brother. Just being real with you. But yes, Han shot first. All right, what's next?
Caleb says, just saw first episode of the new Netflix show Sweet Tooth. Another winner so far. Good mythology, great premise, and very lavish production. Can't wait to see where it goes. P.S. James Brolin, Josh's father, narrates, and his voice is truly majestic. Keep you posted. Thanks.
First of all, James Brolin is a boss. James Brolin is like a true OG boss. Like, he's great. This is the one that's actually produced by Robert Downey Jr. Him and his wife and their production company are the producers of this. And I'm not going to lie to you. It looks dumb to me. It looks really dumb.
He's got antlers. It's so cute.
I know, but he has antlers and a little tail. And he looks adorable. So freaking cute. But I'm hearing very good things about it. And I definitely going to have to start watching it because, again, personally, I love it when there's a movie or a show that I think just looks dumb. And then watch it and fall in love with it. I love that. Yes. I love it when that happens. So hopefully Sweet Tooth will be the next one of those for me. But again, hearing nothing but very good things about it. So I'm going to check it out here pretty soon. All right, what's next?
Ryan says, Hi, John. When you answered my question for the what to watch for 1994 movie, and you said I'm not Scott Mantz, answering this question was laughable. LOL, John. Sorry again for the inconvenience. Have a nice day.
Yeah, and by the way, I know what's going on. Scott Mantz told me he was coming over last night, and he didn't show up.
Oh, really?
Yeah, screw Scott Mantz. No, I love Scott. Again, I am not a movie dates guy, like, at all. But Scott Mantz, like, Rob is very, very good at movie dates. He's very good at movie dates. Scott is even on another level. Like, you bring up a movie, like, I can mention Kenny Rogers' movie Six Pack. Ah, yes, Scott would say. 1983, February 1983. Kenny, I mean, he'd be able to do that. It is freaky. It's like a mutant power that dude has, but I do not have that power. All right, what's next?
Luis Santos says, once more into the fray, into the last good fight I'll never know. Live and die on this day. Live and die on this day. The Gray is such an underrated movie. Neeson and Grillo have great performances.
Yeah, Liam Neeson's quite good in this movie. The reason I always think about whenever I think about The Gray, and The Gray is very good. The Gray is very, very good. Some people get frustrated by the ending.
Didn't like the ending.
Yeah, a lot of people get frustrated
bitter.
with the ending. And I get that. But it was the first thing that I got to meet Liam Neeson was when they were doing press for The Gray.
Yeah.
And I got to meet him. Man, he comes across as, like, they always portray him as this intimidating guy in the movies, right? You don't realize how big Liam Neeson is. He's a big man.
Is he?
Yeah, and
that voice.
you see
that
his
thunderous
proportions,
voice.
it's his proportions. You don't think he looks like a big guy, and then you meet him in person. It's like, he's a big dude. And when he shook my hand, I got big mitts. Like, I got pretty big hands. His hands, like, dwarfed mine.
Really?
And it's like, this is an intimidating dude.
You're giving me Key and Peele vibe. Liam Neeson?
The Liam Neeson. But even just his voice. Like, when he talks to you, you're like,
That voice.
holy shit.
God,
Like,
I'd love to meet
he's
him.
an intimidating, but he was totally great to talk to. He was totally great. But yes, The Gray, it's a good movie. Some people have mixed reactions to the ending of it, granted. But overall, it's a good film. If you get a chance, you should check it out. All right, what's next?
Big Will says, keep up the great work, guys. I'm a huge fan. My question is for Rob.
Bad news. He's not here, but go on.
What do you think about Bosch season 7 trailer? What did you think? Also, what do you think the show's legacy will be?
Do you watch Bosch?
My dad got me on it.
I watched season
yeah.
1 of Bosch. It's one of these shows where I watched the first season. I liked it, but I just never continued.
You never
I have
continued it?
no
Never drew
reason
you in?
why. I don't know why, but I like to see. What's the lead guy's name? He was
You
just
know what?
in
I was
Mandalorian.
I
He
was
was
just
just
thinking of him.
And he had a recurring role in Sons of Anarchy as a part of the Irish. He was a member, one of the lieutenants of the Irish Kings.
Titus Welliver.
Titus Welliver.
What a name.
I know, he's got a terrific name, and he's a terrific actor. So I like Bosch season 1, but I've never watched it beyond. I know Rob has kept up to date with it. I have not, but you got into it?
I like it. Yeah.
How
yeah.
far into it
I
are you?
like it a lot.
Are you
I'm
all
on
caught
like
up?
season 4. I'm not caught up. I'm
Okay.
not caught up. I'm behind.
So you're way
But-
further into it than I am.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
But I like it. I get it because season 2, I feel like there was so much momentum with season 1, and season 2 was kind of, the energy was off. You know, when you can feel when someone like lost a writer or something, or switch it up, and it kind
Yeah.
of felt like that. I don't know anything about the writer situation, but it picks back up season 3. I like the characters. I love the character development. That's
All
the
right.
best thing I love about the show. Yeah.
All right, next up, what's up?
This is coming from, I'm gonna try my best.
Madsif
Jada. All right. I very much enjoy your special shows like the Disney Investor Stream or covering of CinemaCon. Hope you go this year. Also think it would be cool if there was a CinemaCon type film event for the public.
It's
like
called Comic-Con.
E3 is for games. Would help indie films.
Well, first of all, there already is something like that. It's called Comic-Con, where everybody can go. I mean, yes, Comic-Con is about much more than movies, but let's face it, they're very, very heavily movie-based. Wouldn't help indie films at all because much as many indie films are ignored by the public when they're in theaters, they would be ignored by people at conventions. That's not the way it should be. It totally shouldn't be that way, but it is the way that it is. CinemaCon, it's funny, me and Rob and Dennis were talking about this last night. CinemaCon is my favorite event of the year. I like it more than Comic-Con.
Really?
Yeah, because for a couple things. So at CinemaCon, and most people have never been to it, because you have to be a member like of the film exhibition or movie theater industry or a studio to even go. Because what this is put on by the movie theater. It's put on by NATO, the North American theater owners, and yeah, all the studios come and they make these big presentations. And what happens is it's held in Caesar's Palace in the Celine Dion Theater in Caesar's Palace. So it's like holds like 15,000 people.
Oh my God.
And what happens is Disney will come in and do like a 2-hour presentation of here's everything we've got coming up in the next year that's going to be playing in
It's like
your
their Hall H kind
movie
of
theaters. Oh yeah, but it's Hall H on steroids.
Nice.
So then then Paramount does like an hour and a half or 2-hour presentation, and they'll give us like a 10-minute look at every single movie they have coming and all that kind of stuff. Then on top of that, almost every studio will do a special surprise screening. So like, I remember back in the day, the Joel Edgerton movie Warrior, not the TV show, but the one with Tom Hardy and Joel Edgerton and Nick Nolte. That the first time I saw was like 3 months before it came out in theaters because they played it there.
Nice.
And they played Avengers. I think they played Infinity War at thing before it ever hit theaters.
I want to go to there.
Oh, it's great. And when you're press, unlike Comic-Con, which is a pain in the ass, because you get to do these press lines, but you're literally in a press line with like 80 other press, and then they come down and you get like 30 seconds with each person to get them. It's like sometimes I'll get these little exclusives, and that's nice. But at CinemaCon, when they do a press line, there's like 8 outlets. And you get like a good 5 to 10 minutes with every single one that comes down. And I got to actually like hang out and meet and chat a lot with like Ryan Reynolds, Jason Bateman, Hugh Jackman, Colin Farrell, like on and on and on at things like CinemaCon. Then they book out they'll book out a big major club, like one of the most major clubs in Vegas, and they'll have like these private CinemaCon parties. They give her these swag goodie bags.
I love a swag bag.
And they always have these big luncheons and dinners and things like that you get. It is the best event of the year. Now, here's a little secret. There is a way to go.
I was just going to say, what a girl got to do.
Here's the thing.
How can I get up in this club?
There is a way to go. You can become an approved journalist for it. And it's hard to get these, but I've already been on their approved journalist list for a while. So you can go. And I bring Rob with me because I get him to fill out the application. He just writes in that he's a part of the John Campea Show, and he gets us, if you want to go,
I'm
maybe
a part of the John Campea
maybe we can
Show.
figure out a way for you to go too. But you know what I did start doing at the last one? Rob went as a journalist. But here's the little secret. You can buy a ticket to go. And you don't have to be a part of the industry. The tickets are $1,200 per person. $1,200 per person. You get a few extra perks. Nothing too huge, but the last CinemaCon, I decided to actually buy myself a professional badge, and I paid the $1,200.
What? Why? Gosh, if it's
Made
free,
it
it's for me.
because I wanted to see what
goodness.
the different experience. I've gone to about 4 or 5 CinemaCons and wanted to see what the extra little benefit, the extra bonuses would be, and it was nice. I enjoyed it actually. I might do it the same way this year, but if you want to go to CinemaCon, go to CinemaCon's website. And you can go, you can buy a badge. It's just real expensive. But then don't forget, on top of that, you got to get yourself a room in Vegas for the day. So then you're going to.
What time of year does it take place?
Normally it takes place every, I believe, July. But they decided, hold on a second, let me see if I can pull it up. CinemaCon 2021. Normally it's in July, but I guess they figured this year July might be, because they had to cancel last year's. I figured this year they're thinking July might still be a little bit early. So this year's is going to be August 20th. Yeah, August 23rd to August. Let me get this right.
I think
August
you're going to
23rd to
be
August
a little
26th.
too tired. I think I'm going to have to go like in your place, man. You have so
maybe.
much on your plate. And
Yeah, I might have to. Are you saying I need to
you
delegate?
know, I'm here to
Is that what you're saying?
support. So
You here for me to delegate? Now normally they put up the schedule. They obviously don't have their schedule up right now, but it is honestly, it is the best event of the year. If you're a movie fan, there's no better thing because remember the studios aren't just there presenting to fans. They're presenting to the theaters, trying to get the theaters to book as many of their theaters as possible for these upcoming movies. So they go the extra mile to get the theater owners and managers and staff pumped up for these movies. The presentations are always great. And yeah, I'm definitely going this year. So.
I think you need some emotional support.
We can talk about that.
I think I should.
We can talk about it.
All
right. What's next?
Sarah Big Tits McGee says, "Hello, John and Rob. I'm surprised y'all haven't spoken more about the Conjuring Universe. Why you might shout? Yep, that's what she said. Well, they're doing exactly what you and Rob always bemoan about, making movies with mid-level budgets, and every single one has generated good money."
Most of them have. Here's the thing. We have talked about and covered every single Conjuring Universe movie from The Nun to the Annabelles to Conjurings 1, 2, and 3. I watched Conjuring 3. I didn't think Conjuring 3 was great. It's not bad. The Devil Made Me Do It. It's a terrible title. But it's... here's the thing. I put this in a tweet after I watched it. Conjuring 3, The Devil Made Me Do It, kind of works as a murder mystery. It feels more like a murder mystery with a few horror elements. To me, it doesn't actually work all that much as a horror film.
Do they have a lot? I haven't seen it. Do they have a lot of? I know there's like a court story. Like, is it a lot of court stuff? So,
not much happens. Okay. There is one scene though that is pretty funny. There is one scene.
A ghost picks up the gavel and knocks the judge in the head.
I object. No, there's this one scene where Ed and Lorraine are trying to talk to this defense attorney to get her to take up the case of this kid who you see in the trailers that he's murdered somebody, but they're saying he was possessed when he did it. And the defense attorney saying like, no, I can't take this case. That's nonsense. And that's the scene that you hear in the trailer when he says, every time the court swears in a witness, it acknowledges the existence of God. It's about time they acknowledge the existence of the devil, right? Yeah. It's in this conversation with this defense attorney that they're trying to get to take this kid's case. And Ed and Lorrain then say to her, says, okay, tell you what, why don't you come over to our place for dinner? We'll show you our evidence. We'll introduce you to Annabelle. And then if you still don't believe any of it, you don't have to take the case. And then it's a hard cut to her in court with the kid defending him. And I just love the line when he says, when you come over to our place for dinner, we'll show you our research and we'll introduce you to Annabelle. And then a perfect hard cut to the court. It's one of my favorite parts of the movie. Again, it's an all right movie, but here's the thing, Sarah, or Miss Big Tits, as you will. It's not just about making mid-level budget movies. You also we'll talk about you more if you make great movies. And we've talked about there's a couple of the Conjuring movies I really love, particularly the second Annabelle movie. The first Annabelle movie, garbage. The second Annabelle movie, I actually quite liked a lot. And the first two Conjuring films I thought were really good. And we've talked about them all. But just doing one thing the right way doesn't make your movie great. And while I think the Conjuring franchise, the first Annabelle.
It's tough when you start a universe like that from a horror film, because it's horror. Horror's all about the suspense and the scares and the story. And so I feel like it's really tough to start a universe out of horror because
they haven't done a bad job,
I inherently know what I'm getting.
But they haven't done a bad job. Look, the thing is, the Conjuring universe to me is a bit of a mixed bag because while I do really like Conjuring 1 and 2 and the second Annabelle movie, the reality is they also did The Nun, and The Nun was great trailers, awful movie. They also did Annabelle 1 and 3. And so it's a mixed bag. So we're not going to go on and on all the time about a hit and miss franchise. Like, great, yeah, they're mid-legend. I mean, talk about Blum, like Blumhouse. He's the master of that right now.
Wow.
But you know, you also got to make great movies for us to talk about you even more. And again, The Conjuring is a hit and miss. So we'll see how they do moving forward. All right, what's next?
Film Lovin' Bro says, glad you're enjoying Warrior. I appreciate that this show takes place during a time in U.S. history we don't see in TV and film. Anti-Chinese and the resulting Exclusion Act. That's sadly still relevant today, and the action and filthy ain't bad either.
Yeah, again, one of the things that I really appreciate about the show is that it deals with some societal and political issues going on at the time that are uncomfortably familiar with a lot of the things that are going on today. And I think that's good for us to watch and understand. You know, the old saying, you know, anybody who ignores the past or history is doomed to repeat it. And I think that's true here too. But it's also got all the glorious visceral things in it, the action, the sex, all that kind of stuff, all wrapped up with great characters and great story. And I'm really enjoying it. All right, what's next?
Caleb says, some more 1994 films I'd like to recommend. Forrest Gump, The Mask, Speed, Clear and Present Danger, Shawshank Redemption, Pulp Fiction, Ace Ventura, The Crow, Heavenly Creatures, Star Trek Generations. 1994 was stacked.
It really is. I remember after somebody was asking about the films of 1994, and I'm like, I don't remember what comes in 1994. I went back and looked up a list. It's ridiculous.
Dang. I didn't realize. You just named like a bunch of films that I absolutely love.
Let me bring this up here.
And don't sleep on Clear and Present Danger either.
Okay, listen to this, okay? Listen to some of these films from 1994. Obviously, Lion King, Forrest Gump, which won Best Picture that year. It shouldn't have. Shawshank Redemption should have had, because Shawshank Redemption is a top 3, 4, or 5 greatest film of all time. Anyway, True Lies, my favorite action film of all time. Clear and Present Danger, Speed, The Mask, I love The Mask. Mrs. Doubtfire, Interview with a Vampire, Maverick, Schindler's List.
Maverick.
At least it says here it came out that year. Schindler's List is listed in that year. The Tom Hanks movie Philadelphia, which he won Best Actor for at the Academy Award with Denzel Washington.
Antonio Banderas.
The original Stargate came out that year. Wolf came out that year. Dumb and Dumber came out of that year.
Dang.
4 Weddings and a Funeral came out that year. Already mentioned The Crow. The Pelican Brief. Natural Born Killers.
That's
Angels in the Outfield came out that year.
This is like quintessential 90s awesomeness.
Tombstone
I'm your
came
Huckleberry.
out that year.
Mm-hmm.
The Shadow, I'm like, that's a guilty pleasure one, but that Alec Baldwin, I love
that was Alec Baldwin, right?
Yeah, Alec Baldwin. I love Major League 2. Major League 2 I like better than Major League 1. The very few
I miss those movies.
Oh, so do I. Shadowlands came out. I love Shadowlands. Came out that year. The Piano came out that year. What else came out that year? Anyway, that year, With Honors came out that. I really like With Honors. That came out that year. Quiz Show with, I believe, Ray Fiennes stars in that one. Yeah. Quiz Show came out that year. That got a bunch of Oscar attention, if I'm not mistaken. That came out that year. I mean, that is a stacked year. And I remember going back and reading through that. It's like, man, like I wish I knew my movie dates better, because I would think about 1994 a lot more, but the reality is I don't.
I'm really impressed. Dang.
But Shawshank
I'm gonna
Redemption.
have to just make a list and rewatch stuff.
Wow.
I
mean, that's a lot of great stuff. Anyway, thanks for bringing that up, man. Okay, what is next?
John and Prescott says, hi, John and Rob. I briefly heard that Harrison Ford might be de-aged for Indy 5. What are your thoughts on this possibility? Also, did you know Indy's first given name was actually Indiana Smith? Thanks. Have a great day, and say hi to Anne for me.
I believe I have heard that the original name of the character was going to be Indiana Smith. I think I've heard that before. I do not believe they're going to be de-aging Harrison Ford. I don't think Harrison Ford would probably allow it. You're saying you don't like the way I look? But, I mean, if there's some flashback stuff, well, then sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely, I could see them doing that. But I don't think they're doing... Listen, if if you're saying Indy is the age he's going to be, let him look the age he's going to be. I mean, I don't see any problem with that. But again, if they do some flashback stuff, I don't know, would you be bothered if they did some digital de-aging of Harrison Ford in this?
No, I wouldn't be bothered, but I feel like Harrison Ford's the kind of person that you can just build that story of his age into it so well, and he can deliver so well. I feel like it would be unnecessary. While it wouldn't bother me, it would feel unnecessary. But who knows what they're doing? They might jump a little bit. I mean, because let's see, he's 80. Is he 80?
I don't think he's 80 yet.
Old, or is he 70? Will he be 80? I think someone said he'll be 80 when the movie comes out. So
no, I don't think that's.
What is he? 78?
I don't think he's. I think he's 78 years old. So
okay.
And he's about to turn 79, so
he'll be 80
will
when it
be
comes
80
out.
at the time this comes out. Actually, that's true. He will be 80. By the way, somebody pointed that we often talk about how he is now X number of years older than Sean Connery was when Sean Connery plays dad.
Yeah.
But I saw another one recently. He is now 2 years older than the guy who played old Indiana Jones in the Young Indiana Jones stories.
Oh, when River Phoenix was.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they're like, old Indiana Jones in that show was like 76. And he says now Harrison Ford is older than that guy was.
Wow.
So, I mean, wow, indeed. But listen, when you look at the way Harrison Ford, forget just the way he can still act, the way he can still physically move, the way he still is able to carry a role and all that kind of stuff, I would never guess he's turning 80. I would never guess it. Like this guy,
Yes,
I mean,
freaking
obviously
immortal.
he keeps himself in great shape.
He survived what, like 2-3 plane crashes?
Self-plane crashes? Yeah.
Yes.
What are you doing today? I'm bored. I'm going to get into a plane crash. Prove how tough I am.
But he just dusts himself off.
just
and is
walks
like,
off.
Next movie.
Yeah, I mean, there it is. It was
He's
one of those
such a
things.
G.
He is. He
Such a
totally
G.
is. All right, what's next?
Cap and the Winter Sidekick say, John, no, sir, no freaking sir. I told you about Warrior over a year ago. You read it live. Instead of saying something about it, you just ignored that part and spoke of when I mentioned Pennyworth. Take all that smack back. Bucky rocks.
Okay, so on the show the other day, I can't remember, Warrior came up and said, by the way, all of you guys, I'm pissed off at all of you. Because while you guys will go on and on about, I'll get like 100 recommendations for a single show, I hardly heard anything about Warrior. Why haven't you guys told me about Warrior? Now, yes, I have had some people over the last couple of years mention Warrior to me. Absolutely. But not in the sheer brute force numbers that I've had recommendations for other shows. And I'm always grateful for it. I'm always grateful for it. I'm like, how come you guys have been holding out on me with Warrior? So yes, listen, I'm not saying nobody's ever recommended it. Of course they have. I've gotten a few recommendations over the years for Warrior. I just wish you guys had been more numerous. I wish more of you had told me about Warrior.
Strength in numbers, guys.
Yes,
Get organized.
So I could have gotten on this thing sooner than I have, but whatever. I'm watching it now and I'm super happy. And if you were one of the early guys, Cap, to tell me about it, awesome. I just needed more people to do it. And I'm still bitter that I'm so late to the party on it. All right, what's next?
Well, Cap in the Winter Sidekick is bitter too because he says, John, I'm literally screaming at you. Warrior, LOL. I know you can't watch everyone's recommendation, but if you listen to me, you'll never go wrong.
Yeah, I find normally people who say that usually lead me wrong. So
I saw My Ling first. I was in love with the entire show. Bucky rock.
My Ling, who plays Assam's sister in
I like her.
My Ling is the name of the character, who is Assam's sister in the show. So beautifully complex. I love this show that there's no pure good guy. There's no pure bad guy. Everybody's a mix of things and have their weaknesses and flaws and whatever. And Mai Ling is one of these characters that you're like, oh, she's really good. Oh, wait, maybe her heart ain't so good. And then she does something really nice. And then she does something very dark. And it's like, but
This is how people change.
So
She's been through a
her
lot.
and we were already talking about Atoy. Mai Ling and Atoy are like, they're incredible characters. I love them both amazingly, and I'm really, really... I mean, here's a great example of this. So Toy, she's this Chinese national, one of the immigrants come over, and she runs this very, very high-class Chinese brothel, right? But she later falls in love with another woman who's trying to get girls out of being prostitutes. And it's like, it's a Hatfields and McCoy thing. It's like, so you got this crusader who's kind of trying to get women out of that life, and her and a brothel owner fall in love. And it's like, and it sounds silly. I acknowledge it sounds silly, but it's beautiful. I mean, it's, the way they do it is really nice and sweet and tender and beautiful. Anyway, I like the show for so many different reasons. All right, what's next?
King Artos of Monteval says, hey, John and Rob. No way, John. I will not take the loss for you not... They're gonna come for you, John. Yeah, they're coming for you right now.
2 or 3 people that actually recommended it to me.
They're coming for you.
Me.
For you not watching Warrior earlier. One of the first times I wrote back in December 2020. Ooh, they came with receipts. I recommended Warrior. I was returning the favor because you had been so excited about Kim's Convenience.
That's right.
That I just had to watch. I loved it so much. You pulled up Warrior on IMDb and everything. I told you that it was a Cinemax show. I even wrote back in and gave the update that it was put on HBO Max. So that is your loss to behold. All in good fun.
That reminds you, but back when the show first came out, I probably didn't even if I wanted to have watched it, I probably couldn't have, because I don't think I ever had Cinemax by any stretch. I probably wasn't going to go out and get Cinemax for a show.
Yeah, I'm glad they put it on HBO Max, because I'm just not adding another I'm tapped out, dude. I can't add any more stuff.
I know, there's already so much, and there are more on the way. Yeah. But yeah, them putting on HBO Max, I really hope it does for it what Kim's Convenience, what 2 great Canadian sitcoms, Schitt's Creek and Kim's Convenience, when those shows went onto Netflix, suddenly the world noticed and realized these shows are treasures. And I think Warrior going on to, I was talking to Dennis about this last night, and Dennis was saying the same thing. I think it never would have gotten noticed, but it being picked up on HBO Max, now everybody's noticing it. And now people are like, this show is awesome. And hopefully that's going to be, not only are we getting a season 3, but hopefully it'll lead to seasons 4, 5, and 6. So we'll see. A lot of stories to be
told there.
Yep. All right. What's next?
Ike Nwoko, this is one of 4, had a debate on what makes Thor worthy. My brother says Thor can wield Mjolnir because the only requirement is to be purely selfless, and Thor is the only Avenger to achieve pure selflessness because of his arc in his 3 movies. I feel it's much more complicated. If it was as simple as being selfless, more people would be worthy. Yes, being selfless is a part of it, but not the end all be all. You can be selfless and not be worthy. I think Thor's worth because of his self-actualization. I think it has to do with overcoming the baggage that burdens his own moral character. Thor couldn't pick up Mjolnir because his baggage was his hubris. Once he overcame that, he was able to fulfill the need to be worthy, i.e. self-actualization. To me, being worthy isn't about being worthy. It's about not being worthy and striving to rise above your limitations so that you can fulfill the best you for the hammer and the noble intentions you wield it for. Hence, why Cap can wield it.
I will go even further than that, Ike. I think it's more complicated and more simple than that. Too many people interpret Odin's words, be they worthy, as very, very simple. It's like, oh, such and such did something really good. Can that character wield Mjolnir now? Because look, the reality is, look at the end of Avengers. At the end of the Avengers, Tony Stark is willing to sacrifice his own life, flies through the wormhole out there to go out and to take the nuclear missile out into space, and he totally does it believing he's going to die doing it. And he self-sacrifices himself, taking it through there. How can you be any more worthy than I'm going to lay down my life to save other people? But he couldn't budge the hammer. Once you get into Age of Ultron, they're trying to move that hammer. He could. This was a guy who was willing to lay down his life and die for everybody, and he's not willing to move the hammer. He's not able to move the hammer. Hawkeye, we're like doing everything for the love of family and willing to lay it on. He doesn't even have superpowers, and he's willing to go into battle against aliens and monsters, whatever, and die if he needs to die to protect people. He wasn't able to budge the hammer. If it was just about being worthy, you don't think any of those people in Thor 1, all those people gather around to try to budge that hammer, not one of them was a really good, selfless person? course, I think it goes way beyond just simple, what does it mean to be worthy? I think there's a lot more attached to that. I think there was more of a existential thing to it as well. Because I've had so many people writing over the years to say, well, this hero in the MCU did this noble thing. That means they can lift the hammer now, right? I don't know. Some dude gave up his paycheck to pay off somebody else's mortgage for the month so they wouldn't lose their home. Can that guy lift the hammer? Probably. I don't think that's what Odin had in mind. So I agree and disagree, Ike. Like, I do think it is far more complex than just what does it mean to be worthy? And I think there's a very specific thing involved in that. Not to mention, there's obviously in the MCU a sentience to Mjolnir. Mjolnir has its own sentience as well, and it judges itself as to who can lift him and who doesn't. So I agree. I think it's a very, very small number of people, but I think there are people who are morally better than Thor who probably couldn't lift the hammer either. So I think when you think about that question in the MCU about what does it mean to be worthy, what instantly comes to your mind when you think of that?
To me, I think about the total package because it's about being leader. So it takes me back to Thor 1 when Odin is making, when, he gets interrupted by the frost giants because in the ceremony where he's making him king. So it's the total package. Are there good people? Yes. But having the character and the all around bravery and having the integrity to be king, because here's the thing. If you were to set all these people before the people of Asgard and say, who do you want to be your king based on worthiness, they would pick Thor. And it's not that they wouldn't look at Tony and go, oh, you're selfish. No, they would see, wow, you did self-sacrifice, but he's got everything to be king. It's leadership. It's bravery. It's integrity. Some people are brave and they'll save a woman, but then they'll go, switch money into their bank account that doesn't belong to them. You know what I'm saying? So it's the total package. It's what it takes to be a royal is almost what it makes me think of. And there's a lot of wonderful people that couldn't take the royalty. And if you think about it, it's also the pressure of continuously having people rely on you. Asgard relies on Thor as their king, their source, their leader all the time. Tony has events where he's like, let's go out and kick some ass. Let's go out and save the world. But he's not governing, So
yeah, I like that. The
to
whole
me.
idea that when he says worthy, it's not just about worthy being a good person. Are you worthy to be a king? And because Scott Lang, Ant-Man, is not worthy to be a king.
No.
Tony Stark is not worthy to be a king. Thor is worthy to be a king. Steve Rogers is worthy to be a king.
If Steve Rogers went to Asgard and it was a line of people,
they make him king.
and they say, look, if Thor dies, Odin's gone, they would look at Steve Rogers and go and look at, you're the guy that jumped on a bomb. You're the guy that had the wits to just take the thing out and make the flagpole fly down. You're the guy that leads other people. You're the guy that rescues people and then goes right back into the same place to fight another battle. They would pick him to be king. That's the difference. It's leadership.
Yeah, I like that. Now, listen, I also kind of like that the MCU has always been a little bit ambiguous about it. Like, they've never been straight up, okay, here's what it means. Like, they didn't, MCU movie doesn't stop in the middle of nothing, and then they get Michael Pena's Luis
no
from Ant-Man to
list.
come in. Okay, here's what it means to be worthy of Thor's hammer. And they've never done that. I kind of wish they would. That would be fun. But they've never done that.
Here's the story.
So it's left up to us to kind of interpret it. All right, we got time for just a couple more. What's next?
This is coming from Brandon Visconti. Hi, John. So I recently watched The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It. And I gotta say, I was a little worried because James Wan wasn't directing it, but I actually loved the movie. I thought the story was really good. Love the show. Keep up the good work.
I'm glad you wrote that in. But listen, I already said a little bit earlier, I don't think the movie's great, but it's not bad. It's not bad. Again, to me, when I look at it as a murder mystery, who done it? Why did this kid suddenly, who's behind making this kid do this? When it works, when it's functioning as a mystery film, it kind of works. I didn't think it worked so well as a horror. It's like, yeah. Oh, look, ooh, the lights are going out. Oh, the room is shaking. Ooh. Well, whatever. But as a mystery, it kind of worked. And I do like the characters of Ed and Lorraine and all that kind of stuff. So I didn't think it was bad. I didn't love it, but I thought it was a pretty good installment of that. I'm glad you enjoyed it on that level, Brendan. All right, let's do one more question today. What's last?
Tron says, I'm excited to see Issa Rae join Spider-Verse 2. Watch Insecure if you aren't familiar with her. I agree. Do you think if she is well received in the voice role of Spider-Woman, Sony would cast her as live action Spider-Woman, or do you think both roles should be separate?
First of all, correct me if I'm wrong. Actress from Slim
No,
Queen
that's
and Slim.
Jodie Turner.
That's Jodie Turner.
Yeah, that's
right.
Jodie Turner. Issa Rae, she was in Little with the young lady from Blackish. Issa Rae was in the movie with Kumail Nanjiani
yes,
about the date that went awry.
Yes.
And she is an incredible writer and producer of her own show. She used to have a show called Awkward Black Girl on YouTube, which was so funny. And then just her I love a story. Her come up story is really, really amazing. And she was a self-creator, self-produced. And then HBO got a hold of her and they trusted her with this property that she has. And Insecure is such a well-written show. It's so good. It's so funny. And I love her voice too. So I'm excited.
Remember, because Little is the one that was...
It's a take on Big.
Yeah, it's a reverse kind of situation of Big. Didn't like the movie that much.
Yeah.
But she was really good in it. And I really liked the little girl in it too. I thought she was really neat. By the way, that little girl, speaking of CinemaCon...
Youngest producer in Hollywood. Congratulations.
Yeah, speaking of CinemaCon, that's where they brought her on stage and said, by the way, she is the youngest person in Hollywood right now to have a first look development deal in Hollywood. I'm like, fuck that
amazing
kid. But she's wonderful in the movie. The movie itself wasn't so great. Listen, I'm going to honestly, nobody cares. Nobody cares who does the voice of that character in Spider-Verse. Listen, because it's not the same as acting in a movie. Acting in a movie, you got to go be on set for 3 months. Doing the voiceover, couple of days, go into a sound booth and read
and the
lines.
physicality of Spider-Woman.
And the physicality of it all, it doesn't matter. And honestly, I personally don't like the trend that's been around for about 15 years of, instead of getting properly, uniquely, exclusively trained voice actors who, quite frankly, would do a better job than 9 out of 10 of the Hollywood celebrities who come in and do voices for animated roles, they go out and get names. And honestly, it tells me nothing about how good or bad a person would be in an actual live action role. And I say that about everybody. I mean, look, there are some exceptions. I can't imagine Shrek without the voice of Mike Myers. Sticking with
Eddie
Shrek.
Murphy, are you kidding me?
I can't imagine Donkey other than Eddie Murphy doing it. I can't imagine today the voice of Woody not being Tom Hanks. There are a few exceptions.
Yeah.
But for the most part, named actors should not be getting these roles, these voice roles. These roles should be going to professionally trained, who exclusive solely on the craft of voice acting, and the movies would end up being even better. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Any other actor or actress could go in and do those voices and they'll do fine, and the movie will end up being just as good or not good 9 times out of 10. So I don't think it matters. So no, I don't think this will have anything to do with whether they cast her in a live action role or not, nor should it. It shouldn't have any.
I wish it was like
whatsoever.
where it was just like they would stay have like 1 or 2 celebrity voices, but not the whole cast.
Yeah.
And by the way, the guy that did the voice for Sebastian, Samuel Wright, he passed away recently in The Little Mermaid. That did the voice.
That's right. I saw that on the
famous,
I saw that
that
newsfeed.
famous voice. So but that's just a great example, because not many people knew the face behind the voice. But darn if we don't just love that accent and that voice, and when we hear it, you feel a certain way. And regular people, and for people who do voiceover like me, I'm like, can you just hire a regular person, please?
Yeah, we had. Somebody who was on the show a lot, Chris Carr, is a professional voice actress, and she teaches workshops on voice acting. See, to me, these movies would be better if, instead of going for the name, and I get, you're right. You want to have a big name
1
to
or
bring
2.
in the audience.
Let me be like, oh, that's Clint Eastwood,
but
or
all these
but
other
not
roles.
Everyone.
Get professional voice trained actors who specifically train for just bringing the voice to these things in order to bring them to life.
Yes.
I'm not saying that the real life actors don't do a good job. I'm just saying it could be even better if you get somebody who's better at it. So I don't know. That's just kind of my take on it.
Agreed.
But with that being said, guys, That'll do it for this installment of the companion videos. Thank you so much for being here and for being a part of the show. Special thank you to all of you guys who sent in these comments and questions. Number one, because you give us great fun things to talk about. But number two, you supported this channel as you did it. And all of us involved here with the show, thank you so much for that support. I, of course, want to thank Kimberly Curran for being here. Kimberly, thanks for being here. Where can people follow you online?
Yeah, you guys can find me on Instagram at wasgoodkimberly. I can't even say my own name. WUZKIMBERLY on Instagram.
And of course, you guys can follow me on Twitter and Instagram and all social media simply at John Campea, which you can see right down there. Again, thanks for being here today, guys. Remember, do the four main things. Stay smart, stay safe, take care of yourselves, and please take care of the people around you. That'll do it for me, guys. My name's John Campea, and until next time, my friends, bye-bye.